I'm a simple man making his way through the galaxy, like my father before me.
The Mandalorian has been a ray of hope for the Star Wars series, which has been losing fans since the sequel trilogy was met with mixed reviews. When the show came out in 2019, it breathed new life into a well-known world and won over both old and new fans with its unique mix of genres, stunning visuals, and storylines that focus on characters. Its success shows how strong the Star Wars brand is and how well the show's creator, Jon Favreau, knows how to tell stories and how much he loves the Star Wars world. We'll look at 10 ways in which The Mandalorian has brought the beloved series back to life, as well as how it's changed the same things for a new generation of fans. Let's get started. Number 10. Alien Worlds and New Worlds. This could be the most exciting thing about the show.
There must be some mistake. I can get you more credits.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
The Mandalorian adds to what we already know about Star Wars outside of the movies. It gives us a chance to use our imaginations, which is what we hope for when something new comes out. It's the main reason why The Rise of Skywalker didn't do well. It didn't have any interesting worlds or aliens. With The Mandalorian, Jon Favreau added new characters like IG-11 and Kuiil to the world of scum and villainy that had never been explored before. Number 9. Just the right mix. After The Force Awakens recycled the plot of A New Hope and relied on nostalgia, and The Last Jedi made so many bold, original choices that it made Star Wars a shadow of what it used to be, Star Wars fans have been trying to find the right balance between familiarity and newness for Star Wars media to work. We want to know what's going on in the world, but we also want to hear new stories. Rogue One did a great job of combining the familiar images of Darth Vader, Leia, Tarkin, the Death Star, and more with wholly new characters.
In a way, you have determined the choice of the planet that will be destroyed first.
World War II references replaced by Vietnam War references, and an unusually dark ending. The Mandalorian has done the same while still being a very important part of the Star Wars storyline. It takes place a few years after Return of the Jedi. We're following a bounty hunter in a world where a civil war just finished across the whole galaxy. There are lost stormtroopers and war relics all over the barren settings of the series. The thought of a new masked villain showing up 30 years after Darth Vader's rule with a planet-destroying superweapon just seemed lazy and out of place. However, The Mandalorian has a real place in the Star Wars timeline, and it uses that place to find story potential. Number 8. VFX. The beautiful, classic look of the first 3 Star Wars movies was changed in the prequels to make it glossier and less interesting to look at. George Lucas did this by using the CGI technologies he was developing wherever he could. He didn't even think about mixing the tricky old practical methods with the new computer-generated ones because he was at the forefront of the future of filmmaking. All of Disney's Star Wars movies have used practical effects to some degree. But The Mandalorian went back to the same ways that George Lucas made the look of the first 3 movies, using prosthetics and models. Jon Favreau, the creator of the show, has said that some of the figures are also played by animatronics and puppets.
I like when visual effects fool you in a way that you don't even know you were fooled.
So far, The Mandalorian has made some of the best fight scenes in the whole Star Wars universe. Thanks to the great choreography, every fight scene has been a hit, no matter how big or small it is. But what makes each of these scenes great is how violent they are. That amount of violence has never been seen in Star Wars. And they really show how dangerous the underworld of the Star Wars universe is. These scenes help the show stand out more than anything else that Star Wars has made. Number 7. More Mandalorians.
Mandalorians. It is time to retake our homeworld.
The Mandalorians might be the most mysterious people in the whole Star Wars universe. The show has found out things about them that books and other shows haven't. It's great that a show follows a Mandalorian, but it's even better that it follows more than one. We find out that because of what happened on Mandalore, which is another secret, they were living in hiding. And at the end of Season 1, it shows what might have happened to them, but we find out that there are still groups of Mandalorians all over the galaxy. While the Mandalorian is looking for Jedi, he's almost certain to run into more of his own. Number 6. The space western feel. When writing the Star Wars saga, George Lucas was always inspired by westerns. There were also parts from samurai movies, for instance, the Jedi and the Sith are based on samurai, and inspiration from science fiction and fantasy serials, and Joseph Campbell's studies of comparative mythology, but a big part of it was westerns. This is clear in desert places like Tatooine, and in the fact that Han Solo is known as a gun-toting criminal. Solo, a Star Wars story, was a great chance to make a spaghetti western set in the Star Wars world, but it was a total mess, shot with two different ideas in mind, so the chance was lost. On the other hand, The Mandalorian is a great space western. Number 5. Interesting main character. The titular bounty hunter in The Mandalorian is already a much more endearing, complex, and subtle character than any of the poorly developed caricatures that Disney has given us so far. This is mostly because of Pedro Pascal's electric lead performance, but it's also because of great writing and direction. Most Star Wars fans don't really care how Rey and Kylo Ren's stories end in The Rise of Skywalker, but The Mandalorian and the child have been welcomed. They're already as well known as Han Solo and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Han Solo. I'm Captain of the Millennium Falcon.
Pascal has given Mando a lot of depth and personality despite being stuck in a helmet for the whole show. Number 4. Fans don't disagree about it. You know how you can tell a show is interesting? By looking at how people rate it. And for this one, fans are actually positive about it. The strangest thing to happen to Star Wars fans since more than 100,000 people signed a pledge to make The Last Jedi again was when The Mandalorian came out. The Mandalorian isn't causing any Star Wars fans to fight. Message boards are full of people who all like the show. The only thing that people disagree on is what makes the show so good. The Mandalorian is Disney's best piece of Star Wars media because it's the first one that hasn't split the fan group. No one is upset about The Mandalorian, everyone is just along for the ride. Number 3. Scene transitions. Scene transitions are one of the hardest parts of making a Star Wars movie or TV show. George Lucas's transitions between scenes in the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy were based on the transitions in the old space fantasy serials, which affected the saga from the start. But it's hard to make those changes again. Since most of them are wipe transitions, it's easy to make them look bad, as if Windows Movie Maker was used to edit them. The scene changes in The Mandalorian are great. It looks and feels like a George Lucas movie, and that's partly because of this extra touch. Number 2. More about the child. Another good thing about The Mandalorian might be that it was able to appeal to everyone. If you're a fan, you've probably tried to get people who haven't seen Star Wars before to watch it. Most people who watch it still don't become fans, but when you suggest The Mandalorian, they say, "Oh, I love that show." Everyone loves how it looks, but one of the best things about the first season was seeing The Mandalorian and the child become like father and son. It's hard sometimes to see Grogu use up all of his power to exhaustion, but he does that because he loves his guardian. The relationship between them is a big part of what makes this show work, and it makes it feel different from anything else in the series. Grogu has become part of our hero's past, which makes him even more important now. It'll be interesting to see what happens next with Grogu, whose skills are getting stronger all the time. Number 1. Now more than ever, we need great TV shows. Well, this one's more of a bonus, but with all the bad things that have been happening, we need to be entertained. We need TV shows and movies more than ever to take us away from the real world. With the unsure future of movie theaters, blockbuster movies that have been put on hold, and many movies that aren't ready to be put out on streaming, shows like The Mandalorian are more important than ever to give us a break, to be entertained, and taken to a different world. You don't have to like Star Wars to enjoy the show. If you haven't watched it yet, now is a great time to start. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and until next time, may the Force be with you.